Hey there viewers, and welcome back. I want to take a look today at assembling our push rods and our rocker arms. So before you do this, before this glue sets up, it would have been wise for you to rotate your engine one complete revolution of the crankshaft. If it does not turn, you put the little flappers on the camshaft in wrong. Pull your bottom cover and fix it. So see the video for details. Anyway, I think there's something fussy on that other engine, that 530, that's the same way. So anyway, I find these these push rods quite interesting because they are an aluminum body that is like pressed onto a steel end for like wear resistance. So I've never seen that before. They are not hollow, I don't think. I don't think there's a hole drilled through them like you see on some of the car engines. But that's kind of a nice touch for weight distribution, I guess, if you will. So you're gonna need 4 push rods, 4 rocker arm pins, and 4 rocker arms. So let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, so the first thing that I am going to do is I'm just going to dry fit my parts, make sure we are indeed sitting on base timing. So there's a pocket that these rocker arm tips are going to sit in. We'll set those in there. Then we're going to simply grab ourselves a pair of gloves and we're going to turn the crankshaft, or I suppose you could use a rag or a paper towel or something. And you can see that rocker arm's coming up, so we're going to rotate it the other way. And there's valve overlap, and you can see that rocker arm is moving. So we're just going to adjust this to where everybody is off the compression release and down as far as possible. That's going to allow us to put these rocker arms on like super easy without having to fight it. Otherwise you're going to fight the valve spring. So we'll pull these back out. We're simply going to grease them up good. I put a little wad on the end of that. Back down the hole. You should feel it clip into that pocket. If you don't, well, you might have to take some stuff apart. So it won't be the end of the world, but we'll just make sure that we do that. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little wad of grease in this rocker arm. And I'm not going to put anything underneath here because we're going to be using feeler gauges and stuff on that. Slide our pin in. It should be loose because that's how we left it when we took it apart. We'll put the other guy in there. Just exactly the same procedure as what we used when we removed it. If you're fighting it, either your cam is not on its base timing, or its base rather, or you put something together wrong. So anyway, at this point, I'm just gonna use my fingers to snug this guy down a little bit just to make sure nothing falls apart inside. So we have virtually 0 lash. At this point I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Nothing's going to get tightened down here yet at this point. So I want just a teensy weensy tiny little bit of valve lash. Okay, and then I'll just finger tight those. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other jug. This jug, you're going to need to turn the crank a little bit. Just be aware of that. So I think I turned it 180 degrees because one of these here, you can see them both moving, was like either during valve overlap or it was on the exhaust stroke. I don't quite remember, but either way, just make sure that, that they're both on their base. Next, we're going to set the valve lash. We're going to make sure that this jug is on base. So I'm turning the crank and both of these guys are just staying put. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 8.08 plus or minus 0.02. So I've got 0.076 and 0.102. Are my only options here. So I'm gonna go with the 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's just gonna have to be for the intake. So let's do the intake here. Slide this guy under, loosen this. It'll be close enough. I'll have to get a different set of feeler gauges, but typically this is something you adjust along at about 100 hours, thereabouts or so. So anyway, it's not like you can't take 2 bolts out and simply adjust this later. We're gonna get our 9mm. We're gonna set it about right there. Tighten that down. We should have just ever so minuscule amount of play. And that should be able to slide in there without bending it or anything. It should bite it a little tiny bit. I'm just gonna use the same one since we've got a little bit of play, the 102 on the exhaust. So technically we're perfectly within spec on the exhaust by doing that. So we'll loosen this guy up with fingers. We'll put the 102mm in. Simply tighten it down. Tighten this guy down. It might be a little bit tight. Might rotate the crankshaft a little bit more. Okay, that was definitely not on base. Not exactly sure what happened. It might have been the compression release or something there. You just got to be super careful. There are marks on the plastic fan shroud for actually doing this with it in the piece of equipment. It makes it really easy, so it's always worth your time to double check that. All right, so there we go. Might be a smidge loose. I do like that. That feels good. It's got just a smidge. Check that one more time. Yep, that's having a little bit of tightness fitting in there, that 102. So maybe that valve's starting to open. I suppose we could always look down our spark plug hole. Okay, there is top dead center. Got a little bit of play. We'll check her one more time. I like that. This might just be a little tiny bit tight. I'm gonna back this one off. Just maybe that much. You tighten a smidge when you, whoa, that's too much. They do tighten a smidge when you tighten the jam nut down. Don't go all hog wild tightening all this stuff up, so. Okay, might need to, this one's being kind of fussy. Turn about that much. Check our 102. Oh yeah, I like that. No play, and then just absolute minuscule amount of play on that. So, all right, we're gonna do the same on the other jug. All right, folks, here's the other side. I've rotated the engine over several times, so you can very easily see the piston at top dead center. So I felt kind of weird going out of spec with that. So I'm going the 0.076 plus or minus 0.02. So yeah, this actually fits really nice in here. So the spec, again, on the intake is 0.08 millimeters plus or minus 0.02, so 0.8910. That actually takes us really close to that. 8, you know, whatever. It's really, really close. So a little bit surprised I don't have the right feeler gauge for this. So, and then I went decimal 102 millimeters here for the exhaust. You are gonna have to turn the engine over a couple of times because that's just how this thing's built. So this service info is actually really helpful. I printed that conveniently off the internet. Copyright 2010 Honda Motor Company. All right, once that's done, we can put the valve cover on, valve covers. Make sure you get your signatures and all of that stuff. So the PTO end, where you power stuff, is facing that way. So the valve cover, not that it probably really matters, but that's the way they had it from the factory. We're gonna put some Vaseline on the bottom of the valve cover just for lubrication, so it slides nice. And we're going to put the valve cover without the oil fill over here on this side. And then we'll tighten it down. Everything should fit real nice by hand, and it does. And then we'll put the valve cover with the oil fill over here on the other side. Why? Because that's how it came from the factory. So, little details. When you're tightening these down, make sure you don't tighten any one bolt too much, because the covers are just plastic and that gasket underneath them is pretty supple. So we want to have it to smush down even. Okay, sweet. There we go. I suppose if you left these off or took them off, now is a very good time to put those on. You can, I suppose, put them on later if you want. I don't really care when you put them on as long as they get installed. Well, there you got it, folks. That is how you set your valve lash and install all of that and all those good things. 12 millimeter, the hook faces this way with the little tab this way, and then the little tab facing this way. So there you got it. Again, make sure you get all your instructor checks for making all of those things happen. We are officially done, with the exception of putting the oil filter housing on. We're officially done with all of the internal, setup and construction and adjustments and all other things like that. It should be super smooth sailing with all the electrical and flywheel and things like that left to put on. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.